He is not running. He is not walking. He is crawling. This is the very last soul to be taken out of Jahannam. His body no longer looks human. Fire has burned away his skin, reshaped his bones, erased every memory of comfort he once knew. He drags himself forward on his face, because even standing feels impossible. Behind him, Jahannam roars with fury. Ahead of him, there is nothing. No light, no relief, only fear. No angels congratulate him. No voice tells him he is saved. No promise is made. He truly believes this is not rescue, only a pause. He believes Allah has not forgiven him, only moved him from one punishment to another. Because how could someone like him ever be shown mercy? The fire does not release him willingly. It clings to him as if it remembers every sin it burned, every scream it pulled from his chest. Jahannam shakes and rages, like a beast losing its prey. Flames snap behind him, reaching one last time, as if saying, "You belong to me." And he believes it. He does not feel relief. He does not feel gratitude. He feels terror. Because the fire taught him something cruel. Never expect kindness. Never trust safety. Never believe pain is truly over. He is dragged farther away. With every step, the heat fades. The screams grow distant, but his heart does not calm, because fear has sunk deeper than fire ever did. Silence now surrounds him, and that silence feels worse than the flames. Fire was pain, but silence feels like judgment. He does not know yet that Jahannam does not choose. It does not decide. It does not rebel. It only obeys. The fire burns only when Allah allows it to burn. It releases only when Allah commands it to release. And now, for the first time in his existence, Jahannam has been ordered to let him go. But this man does not know that yet. All he knows is fear, and fear has stripped him of every illusion, every excuse, every trace of arrogance. He has been reduced to what he truly is, a broken soul who survived hell, not because he deserved it, but because Allah has not finished with him yet. And this is only the beginning. But now comes the question that matters most. Who is this man? He is not a hero pulled from the fire. He is not a martyr whose blood spoke for him. He is not a scholar whose knowledge saved him. No one points at him and says, "There goes a righteous servant." No angel announces his name. No legacy follows behind him. He lived quietly. He died unnoticed. When his record was opened, it did not shine. There were prayers he delayed. There were moments he chose comfort over obedience. There were sins he committed knowing they were sins. And there was repentance he promised himself he would do later. He believed in Allah but weakly. He prayed but inconsistently. He fell more times than he could count. When reminders came, sometimes he listened. Other times, he turned away. When others stood firm, he hesitated. When others rushed toward goodness, he walked slowly, dragging the weight of his own weakness behind him. He built no masjid in his name. He left no charity that lived after him. He raised no students, wrote no books, led no movement. If history were written by people, his name would not appear. And yet, this is the man Allah chose to show us. Not the strongest believer, but the weakest. Not the best among us, but the one we secretly fear becoming. The believer who never denied Allah, never mocked the truth, never declared sin to be halal, but still failed, still delayed, still struggled. This is what makes his story terrifying. Because he is not an exception, he is not extreme, he is familiar. He represents the believer who survives only by truth. Truth in belief, truth in regret, truth in knowing he was wrong, even when he kept falling. And if this weakest believer barely survives, then the story turns its gaze toward us. What about the prayers we delay, the sins we normalize, the repentance we keep postponing? This man is not distant. He is uncomfortably close, and that is why his story matters. And here is where the story becomes even more uncomfortable, because his destruction did not come from major crimes that shocked the world. It came from ordinary sins, small choices, quiet delays, moments no one else noticed. He did not wake up intending to disobey Allah. He simply postponed obedience, a prayer delayed because he was busy, a reminder ignored because he was tired, a sin repeated because repentance could wait. He always meant to return, just not now. He told himself the same thing many of us do, later. Later when life slows down, later when faith feels stronger, later when the heart is more ready. And so later became a habit, and the habit became a pattern. He knew what was right. That was the tragedy. He felt guilt. He felt shame. But instead of letting that pain push him back to Allah, he learned how to live with it. He normalized it. He carried it quietly and told himself it wasn't that bad. Days passed, then years. Repentance was always on his to-do list, never on his schedule, and every delay made returning harder, heavier, more distant, not because Allah turned away from him, but because his heart slowly learned how to live far from Allah. This is how people fall without realizing they are falling, not through rebellion, but through comfort, not through denial, but through delay, not by hating the truth, but by postponing it. He never claimed sin was halal. He never mocked the commands of Allah. He simply kept assuming there would be time, and that assumption nearly destroyed him, because sin alone is dangerous, but delayed repentance is deadly. And when he finally stood where excuses no longer worked, he understood something too late, that later is not a promise. It is a gamble, and the fire does not care how good your intentions once were. It only asks one question: did you return in time? And now the story shifts from what people see to what Allah sees. Because in this world, judgment is built on appearances, on titles, on what can be measured, displayed, and praised. But on the day when this man stood exposed, none of that mattered. Allah did not ask how many people knew his name. Allah did not ask how impressive his deeds looked. Allah did not weigh him against others. Allah judged by truth. Truth in belief. Truth in regret. Truth in the heart that still turned back even after failing again and again. This man had nothing to show the world, no reputation to protect, no image to maintain. And that is why there was nothing left to hide behind. Every intention was visible, every excuse stripped away, every moment of sincerity, no matter how small, stood exposed before Allah. He knew this. That is why he did not argue. He did not defend himself. He did not demand fairness. He lowered his head, because he understood something terrifying and freeing at the same time. Allah sees what people never saw. Allah saw the nights when guilt kept him awake, the moments when shame stopped him from denying the truth, the quiet "Ya Rabbi, forgive me" whispered when no one else was listening. On that day, Allah was al-Adl, the perfectly just. Not a single atom of good was lost. Not a single atom of evil was ignored. Nothing was exaggerated. Nothing was hidden. And this man survived not because his deeds were impressive, but because his belief was real. He sinned, but he never claimed sin was acceptable. He failed, but he never mocked the truth. He fell, but he still recognized Allah as Allah. That recognition mattered more than a lifetime of appearances, because reputation belongs to people, but truth belongs to Allah. And when Allah judges, truth is heavier than anything the world could ever applaud. And here is a reality that shatters fear and deepens it at the same time. Jahannam is terrifying. It roars, it burns, it consumes. But it does not rule, it obeys. When this man was pulled from the fire, Jahannam did not release him out of mercy. It released him because it was commanded. The flames did not weaken, the chains did not fail, the punishment did not end on its own. Allah said, "Enough," and the fire obeyed. Jahannam does not choose who to keep. It does not decide who to release. It does not rebel or bargain. It burns only by permission. It tightens only by command. And when Allah orders it to let go, it has no choice but to let go. This is why the fire screamed as he was dragged away, not because it was alive with emotion, but because it was alive with obedience. It recognized that its role had ended. It recognized that authority never belonged to it in the first place. This truth changes everything. Because if hell itself submits, then fear must be placed in the right direction, not toward the fire, but toward the one who controls it. Not toward punishment, but toward the command that activates it. The fire is not independent power. It is a tool, a creation, a servant, and the same Lord who commands it to burn is the Lord who commands it to release. For this man, that command became the line between destruction and survival. And for us, it becomes a reminder. Do not fear Jahannam more than you fear disobeying the one who controls it. And do not forget that the one who created the fire is the same one whose mercy can silence it with a single word. And yet, even after the fire loosens its grip, the punishment does not truly end. Because hell does not only burn the body, it reshapes the mind. When this man is dragged away from Jahannam, relief does not rush in. Joy does not follow. Gratitude does not rise. Fear does. A deeper, quieter fear that settles into the soul and refuses to leave. The heat fades, but his heart keeps racing. The screams grow distant, but his thoughts do not calm. To him, mercy feels unsafe. Silence feels suspicious, because pain at least was familiar. Pain had rules. Pain made sense. But mercy feels like a trap, like a test, like something that can be taken away at any moment. He believes the punishment is only changing form, that Allah has removed him from one torment to place him into another. And so he does not lift his head. He does not ask for reward. He does not even ask for forgiveness. He only begs for one thing, Ya Rabbi, do not return me there. This is the psychology of someone shaped by punishment. Hope feels dangerous. Expectation feels sinful. Asking for more feels arrogant. Fear has trained his soul to survive by shrinking its dreams. The fire burned his body, but fear burned his confidence in mercy. He no longer knows how to trust kindness. He expects loss more than relief. He expects rejection more than acceptance. And this is what punishment does when it lasts too long. It teaches the soul to believe that safety is temporary, that peace is fragile, that mercy must always be earned back again. This man stands there trembling, not because flames surround him anymore, but because fear now lives inside him. And until that fear is healed, even paradise will feel unreal. And that is why what comes next is not just forgiveness, it is healing. And then, the moment arrives that every soul will face. He is placed before Allah, not thrown, not dragged, placed. And that gentleness terrifies him more than the fire ever did. He cannot lift his head. He does not dare. There are no words prepared, no defense rehearsed, no excuses left to reach for. Because here, nothing can be hidden. Lies do not survive. Masks do not exist. Every sin is known. Every intention exposed. Every secret illuminated. He remembers everything at once. The prayers he delayed. The moments he chose comfort over obedience. The sins he justified. The warnings he heard and ignored. The times he said later and believed time belonged to him. There is no arguing here. No comparison with others. No pointing to good deeds to balance the scale. He stands exactly as he is, stripped of reputation, stripped of hope, stripped of illusion. This is the most honest moment of his existence. He expects annihilation. He expects Allah to turn away. He expects a command that sends him back to the fire, this time without return. His heart pounds so violently, he thinks it will tear itself apart. But something unexpected happens. Allah does not speak with thunder. Allah does not speak with anger. Allah does not condemn. Allah asks a question, a simple question, a question that breaks him completely. My servant, what do you want? And in that moment, standing with nothing left, he realizes something terrifying and beautiful at the same time. If Allah wanted to destroy him, he would not have asked. And for the first time, since the fire released him, something dangerous dares to breathe. Hope. That question does not pass once. It returns. Allah asks him again, not with impatience, not with anger, not as an interrogation, but as an invitation. What do you want, my servant? The man freezes. What does someone like him have the right to want? He was dragged from hell. That alone feels undeserved. Asking for anything more feels dangerous, almost disrespectful. Fear tightens his chest and crushes every thought before it can rise. So he does what frightened souls always do. He asks for very little. Not jannah, not forgiveness, not honor. He lowers his head and whispers, Ya Rabbi, just turn my face away from the fire. That is all. Distance, not reward. Escape, not joy. Because fear has trained him to survive, not to hope. Fear has taught him that asking for more is how mercy gets taken away. But Allah knows. Allah knows that this request is not the truth of his heart. He knows fear has shrunk the man's expectations until they barely breathe. And Allah exposes the lie, not harshly, not with humiliation, but with clarity. You are asking for less than what is in your heart. The man collapses inward. There is nowhere left to hide. Allah sees everything now, not only his sins, but his fear. Not only his failure, but the damage failure caused. And Allah does not end the conversation. He asks again, because this question is not about granting wishes. It is about teaching the servant something he never learned in the world. That fear distorts reality, and that Allah is far greater than the image fear paints in the heart. And with every time the question is asked, the man is being invited to unlearn everything the fire taught him about Allah. And this is where the damage of fear becomes fully visible. Because the man is no longer in the fire, yet the fire is still inside him. Allah has opened the door to ask, to hope, to speak freely. But fear stands between the man and his own heart. It shrinks his courage. It narrows his dreams. It convinces him that survival is the highest reward he is allowed to want. So every time he speaks, he asks for less. Not because Allah limits him, but because fear does. He does not ask for Jannah. That feels unthinkable. He does not ask for forgiveness. Even that feels bold. He keeps asking only for distance. Distance from heat, distance from screams, distance from pain. Just a little farther away. Just enough to feel safe. Nothing more. And Allah exposes the truth gently. Fear has taught him to settle for crumbs while standing in front of an ocean. Fear has trained his soul to believe mercy is scarce, temporary, and easily withdrawn. This is what fear does to believers. It does not only punish, it lowers expectation. It convinces the heart that Allah gives reluctantly. The man truly believes that asking for more will anger Allah, that hope itself might be a sin, that if he reaches too far, everything will be taken away. And yet, Allah grants even these small requests, every time, not because they are worthy, but because Allah is patient, because Allah is teaching him something slowly, carefully. That mercy is not triggered by courage, and it is not canceled by fear. Fear limits the servant. It never limits Allah. And the longer Allah keeps giving, the more the man begins to realize how small his expectations have been, and how vast Allah truly is. And now everything the world taught him begins to collapse. Because in the world, giving has limits. Patience runs out. Favors accumulate debt. But Allah is not like creation. Every time the man says, "This is enough," Allah gives more. Not equal to the request, not proportional to effort, not measured against past failure, more. This is where human logic breaks. The man expects mercy to slow down. He expects a reminder of his sins. He expects Allah to say, "You have asked too much." But none of that comes. Instead, Allah keeps granting, keeps expanding, keeps opening doors the man never believed were meant for him. Because Allah's mercy does not react, it does not negotiate, it does not calculate worth. Allah gives us Al-Kareem. Giving does not reduce him. Patience does not tire him. Promises do not burden him. The man is overwhelmed, not with joy, but with confusion. Everything he learned in the fire tells him this should not be happening. Mercy should be careful. Mercy should be limited. Mercy should stop somewhere, but it doesn't, because Allah is not balancing a scale. He is revealing His nature. He is teaching the servant and everyone watching that Jannah is not a wage. It is a gift, and gifts are not earned by proportion. This is the moment the man begins to understand something terrifying and beautiful at the same time, that Allah's generosity is not bound by reason, and that mercy does not obey the rules fear once taught him, and what still remains will break him even more. And now the man stands at the edge of something he never believed would be his. Before him is the gate of Jannah. Not fire, not darkness, light layered upon light. He hears laughter untouched by pain, voices filled with ease, joy without exhaustion, peace that does not end. And instead of relief, fear tightens around his heart harder than ever before. Because sinners do not fear punishment alone. They fear acceptance. He stops. His feet refuse to move. His mind screams that this must be a test, that this moment is meant to expose him, that Allah is letting him see what he will never touch. Because in the world, joy is always temporary, and mercy always comes with a price. He lowers his head and speaks, his voice trembling, almost offended by hope itself. Ya Rabbi, are you mocking me? These words do not come from arrogance. They come from damage, from a soul trained by pain to distrust kindness, from a heart that learned punishment is honest, but mercy feels unreal. And Allah answers, not with anger, not with rebuke, not with disappointment. Allah answers with truth. I do not mock my servants. The words fall gently and break him completely. Because in that moment, he realizes that every promise was real. Every step was intentional. Mercy was never a trick. Salvation was never sarcasm. Still, he hesitates. Because shame does not disappear instantly. Because the memory of who he was lingers longer than Allah holds it against him. He is not afraid of being rejected anymore. He is afraid of being welcomed. And only when Allah commands him to enter does he finally move. Not proudly, not boldly, but trembling. Because the last chain to fall is not the chain of punishment. It is the chain of disbelief in mercy. And now the story turns its gaze toward you. Because this man is not a legend. He is not distant. He is not an exception carved out for drama. He is closer to us than we want to admit. What separated him from destruction was not perfection. It was not consistency. It was not strength. It was not a clean record. It was that he did not die while denying the truth. The real danger was never his sins alone. It was delay. Delay in prayer. Delay in repentance. Delay in returning to Allah, while assuming there would always be time. He said later and nearly lost everything. And that word is more dangerous than any sin. Because sin still carries guilt. Sin still carries fear. Sin still leaves the door open. But delay convinces the heart that the door will always be there tomorrow. Allah's mercy is vast, overwhelming, beyond logic, beyond measure. But it is not promised forever. The door of repentance remains open only while the heart still beats, only while the breath has not reached the throat, only while the call to return still stirs something inside you. If this story unsettles you, it should, because you still feel guilt. You still feel fear when Jahannam is mentioned. You still feel something pull you back toward Allah. That fear is not your enemy. It is your invitation. Do not silence it. Do not drown it in distraction. Do not promise yourself repentance you never schedule. Do not wait to be dragged from the fire to learn who Allah truly is. Turn now. Lower your head now. Raise your hands now. Say it even if your voice shakes. Ya Rabbi, forgive me. Ya Rabbi, do not leave me to myself. Ya Rabbi, save me from the fire. Ya Rabbi, grant me Jannah by your mercy. Because if the last man to enter Jannah was not rejected, then the door is still open right now, and the most dangerous thing you can still say is not, I am sinful. It is, later.